All right, so before we get into today's episode of the Just Ballin' podcast, I want to apologize for those on YouTube that are watching this. I'm currently home in New York, and when I come home sometimes, my setup could be a little bit wonky with some trial and error throughout this because I use a different software when I'm home and I record everything on a laptop rather than a desktop. And I recorded this 30 plus minutes talking about the Giannis trades, and the face cam part of it got corrupted. So I was like, great, that is just like, what was the point, right? Like, you tell me it's fine, I go into my editing software and it is just simply not. So there's not going to be any face cam for this on YouTube. You will see me going through trades and talking about it on my on Fanspo. Basically, I just wanted to let you guys know, so I do apologize about that. All right, so the talk of the town about the 2025 NBA offseason is all going to be around Giannis Antetokounmpo. Will he request a trade? And if so, what could some of the trade packages look like? Because I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks will trade Giannis unless he publicly requests a trade to the team. Maybe he does internally, but I think a lot of it is also going to be decided on like how much leverage has the team had. Now, recently on an episode on the Just Ballin' podcast, I reacted to some of Bleacher Report's trade ideas that included the Nets, the Warriors, the Thunder, the Rockets, and I'm kind of blanking on my fifth team, or maybe that was all five right there. Yeah, it was the Warriors, Rockets, maybe the Spurs were in there too. So today, I want to come up with just a bunch of different trade ideas. Basically, I'm going to go through every single team that I think would have enough to offer Giannis and what that idea could look like, and if I think it makes sense for Milwaukee, if I think it makes sense for the team offering for Giannis, and how would they look like going forward. So yeah, I think whatever you're seeing on Twitter right now, or if it comes from a team's fan base, it's most likely not going to be enough. I think a lot of the trades I've seen, I just don't see Milwaukee trading their franchise star, who I'm sure they would like to grant his trade request if he does request a trade, but they don't have to trade him. They just simply don't. And it's the NBA. Nobody thought the Pistons were going to be good this year. Nobody thought some of these teams could take some leaps, or it looked so dark 2 years ago and it could look fine now. So like, I think Milwaukee could somehow get out of this. It is really difficult, and there's no clear path. They're going to have to get creative. They're going to have to hit moves on the margins, either being a second-round pick that could play right away like Jalen Wells. It could be a flyer on somebody that maybe doesn't perform great in year one, but Ty Jerome type signing. Like, easier said than done. Those are very tough to do, but if John Horst, who just got extended, has a way out, it's going to be off those moves on the margin. So basically just hopping on Fanspo, going to go through every single team, and we'll go through there. So we're going to start off in the, we can kind of just bounce around a little bit. I think we'll start off in the Eastern Conference with a bunch of teams. And I think there's some intriguing teams in the Eastern Conference, because I think there's like, I mean, maybe a comparison here. Nobody really thought the Bucks were trading for Damian Lillard. They're a surprise team. They get that deal done. Nobody thought the Cavs were going to be the ones that got Donovan Mitchell. They get a deal done. So we're going to start off here. I think like the Cleveland Cavaliers could have enough and be okay. And they could maybe make this trade in a world where you keep Garland or you keep Mitchell and Mobley. I would like to think that Mobley's off limits. If you offer Mobley for Giannis, I mean, you can get a deal done very quickly after that, but I don't think Cleveland would like to rush what they have right now. So I don't really think they would do this at all, but they have plenty of matching salary that could go to Milwaukee. They could offer Jared Allen, and now you're bumping Mobley back to the 5, which could be kind of useful, or Giannis could play the 5. I think you can't keep Mitchell, Garland, and Mobley, so it'd probably be Garland and Allen. I think that's a pretty good package. I'm not saying the Cavs would do that. I don't think they will. This is an in-division trade. The Cavs are the 1 seed. They could win it all this year. I'm just saying hypothetically, they would have clearly enough. I don't know, like a lot from Milwaukee. Could they get off of the Kuzma contract in a Giannis trade? I'm sure they would like to do that. Damian Lillard, could they get off of that money in a Giannis trade? That's very difficult. So I think Cleveland would have enough if they want to do Allen and Garland. They'd be able to keep 3 of their guys. I think Mobley straight up could be pretty good value. So yeah, we are going to do, I do think Cleveland would have enough, but I just don't think they're going to be in the ballpark to get Giannis. And like I said, in the division, it's tough. I don't even know if Milwaukee would want to trade him within the conference, which means the West would just be even more insane. So the Boston Celtics intrigue me a lot. Now, I don't know if Milwaukee would want to trade Giannis to the Boston Celtics, but they're another team that would have enough. Now, Boston, there was a report that came out from Shams, which is something we kind of all knew, that they would most likely look to shed cap this summer because they're very far in the luxury tax. They have new owners, and they're paying a lot of money out of pocket for their team right now. So I think there could be a Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis type level deal, or maybe Derek White if Milwaukee goes that route and they want to keep some guys going forward and they want to at least not hit a full reset. Because if you're making a trade with any team not named Portland or New Orleans, they don't have super valuable picks to offer you if you were going to get a bunch of draft picks. That's why I don't think Brooklyn has a great offer in the grand scheme of things, because unless Milwaukee is okay taking some Brooklyn first, some Knicks first, a Sixers first, I don't see a lot of optimism in there just because you're not getting great players back in return. So Boston can do this. Now there's going to be some like financial hurdles because they can't aggregate salary. But hey, Jaylen Brown for Giannis is not happening. But hey, if Giannis wants to go to a different team, if you can land either Jaylen Brown and Derek White, I'm not a big fan of Drew Holiday at this point in his career, or Kristaps Porzingis. Maybe you can land Peyton Pritchard. Like, could you land Peyton Pritchard and Jaylen Brown for Giannis? I mean, I don't really think you're in a great position, but Jaylen Brown is what, 27 years old, 28 years old. Like, he's still in his prime. Pritchard, you need to work out a new deal. I'm just saying that like Boston would have like some intriguing players if they actually wanted to trade for Giannis. I don't know if I really see that happening, though. The Knicks, they're going to be linked. They're the Knicks. They've wanted Giannis in the past. Hey, maybe if they didn't give up all those assets for Mikal Bridges, that could have made sense. I'm not really sure the best package for Cat or Giannis to the Knicks. I don't know if it'd be keeping Cat, and you're now doing like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges to lead things off, and I don't think that's a good enough. That's not nearly enough package to go back. Like, I'd rather have Darius Garland than OG. I'd rather have Jaylen Brown than OG. And then you'd have to work out an extension with Mikal. Now, you can maybe get off the Kuzma money if the Knicks keep Mikal on this deal, and they do like, or maybe they would have to still include Mikal. So, like, say you did Bridges and Cat for Giannis and Kuzma, that could end up working out financially. But obviously, the Knicks would have to throw every single swap, and now you're becoming the Suns, and you have no draft capital going forward. Deuce McBride would probably be in this trade. Mitchell Robinson may be in this trade. I don't think the Knicks make a lot of sense. So I've been seeing a lot online the Indiana Pacers being linked. I just, don't see Milwaukee trading Giannis to a division rival. Now, these teams kind of like start to hate each other. So I don't see this happening. It would involve Siakam. It would have to involve Nembhard. Like, Nembhard has to be on the table if this deal was going to happen. And probably Jarris Walker. Maybe you can keep Mather and all this. Yeah, and you can maybe keep Turner. Like, the Siakam, Nembhard, Walker, and a bunch of draft capital. Like, I'm not really going to throw picks into these that I don't think are super realistic. But out of those top 4 teams in the East, I don't know. I think Boston would probably make the most sense if the Bucks were okay trading him to the Celtics. Because, one, I don't think they want to trade him to Cleveland or Indiana within the division. And I don't think the Knicks have enough to get Giannis in a bidding war. So, yeah, I think out of all those top teams in the East, Boston would make the most sense. But that would have to be like, they get rid of Drew and I think KP, and now you're building with cheaper pieces around Tatum and Giannis, because you just don't want to end up in the same result. I mean, I'd rather be taxed out the wazoo with Giannis on my team than Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday, but I don't really know if they want to do a complete 180 on this team's direction. And then will Giannis gel well with Tatum, and is Tatum okay, like maybe not being the best player in his team, something that's not really happened since his like rookie or sophomore year. Detroit, another in-division trade. Like, yeah, a lot of the shout out to the Central Division this year. Sorry, Bulls fans, but yeah, I don't think they would have enough. Like, it would have to involve Ivy and Asar, and you wouldn't have really that much talent, I think, at the end of the day around Cade and Giannis. Now, like, or maybe you get to keep Ivy and it'd be Duran, Holland, and Asar, which you would do that for Giannis. I just don't know if that's going to be intriguing enough for Milwaukee to pull the trigger. Orlando, I mean, if you got Suggs and Franz, like, that could blow away a lot of packages. I think Franz is somebody you can legitimately build around. I know there's some shooting issues, but somebody that's 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", that has extreme basketball IQ, that can get downhill, finish at the rim, can play good defense along with Jalen Suggs, that would intrigue me going forward. And if I could take a flyer on some draft capital as well in this deal, you get 2 first-round picks from this draft. You can get that nice swap in 2026 with Phoenix from Orlando, and then maybe you get one of the centers. Maybe you get Wendell Carter Jr. in this trade also. And then like maybe you also get off the Kuzma money, which is fantastic. And I don't really know if Orlando's going to be in Giannis sweepstakes this offseason. I just don't see them as a realistic scenario. So yeah, we've gone through like a lot of these good teams in the Eastern Conference. I just don't think a lot of these teams are willing to gut their cores right now for Giannis. And there's some risk to that for sure. I think Atlanta could have an intriguing package. I mean, going from Jalen Johnson to Giannis is extreme. An extreme upgrade. Now, you're going to have to part ways with Daniels or Reese Ashe. I don't know who Milwaukee would prefer. I'm going to say they would prefer Reese Ashe long term. He has a higher ceiling than Dyson Daniels does, and that could work out financially. You can maybe, like I said, I think a big part of trading Giannis is you can get off the Kuzma deal. I don't know if you'd be able to get a Kungwu in this trade. So if you were trading Giannis and Kuzma for Johnson and Kungwu and Risa, like that's a lot. And they also have multiple first-round picks in this draft from the Kings, from the Lakers, and they own some draft picks going forward as well. Some swaps from the DeAndre Hunter trade. So I think Atlanta would be a sneaky team. Now, Trae Young and Giannis in the pick and roll would be phenomenal. Trae is a better initiator and passer than Damian Lillard is, but it does feel like the smaller guard that's a great shooter has not worked well with Giannis. He's worked the best with the Drew Holiday archetype, rather than, I mean, Eric Bledsoe, it wasn't as good of a shooter as like Dame or Trae would be, but I just wonder if Dame and Giannis not fully maximizing themselves, would you be a little bit worried about Trae and Giannis? I think you would do this trade if you're Atlanta, because Giannis stays in the Eastern Conference. You could have Giannis, Daniels, or you have Trae, Daniels, and Giannis. You figure out your center depth. I think draft capital would have to be involved in this trade. Like, say you got both first-round picks in this draft, and then maybe like a 2030 first, something like that, right? I don't know if this is too much. I don't think this is too much for Atlanta. I think Milwaukee, like, this is an intriguing return. I don't think you're going to be great next year, but now you're building a foundation. You have somebody with a very high ceiling in Risa Shea. You may get the 13th or 14th pick back in this draft in Sacramento. And I wonder if there were a Giannis trade, they would try to make this a 3-teamer, and the team trading for Giannis would send out different draft capital or another asset to New Orleans or Portland, and Milwaukee would get some of their picks back. I just don't think Milwaukee right now is in position to trade Giannis to Portland or New Orleans. So like I said, a third team could be involved, but I think they're going to look back for star level players, and we'll get to some of those guys later on. Chicago, they don't really have enough to offer, and the team would be not great around Giannis unless they got Cooper Flag. Maybe you could sell your team on that, but I just don't think like the most intriguing assets of Kobe White, Matas Buzelis get it done, and you're also trading within the division. Miami's going to make an intriguing offer. Would have to start with Bam Adebayo. I don't know how Giannis and Hero would really work in the Eastern Conference, but I also just think the matching salary for Miami isn't great. You don't have to attach too much because of the Bam extension, but why would Milwaukee really be intrigued about Wiggins' contract or Rozier or Duncan Robinson or Kyle Anderson? I think Khalil Ware would have to be in this deal, but I also think Jovic and Jaime Jaquez lost some value this year, and they don't have a ton of draft capital. So I just think Miami would get outbid. If Toronto wanted Giannis, it would have to involve Scotty Barnes. You're just not trading away Giannis to Toronto unless Barnes is on the table. And then you're probably getting either one of Emmanuel Quickley or RJ Barrett. Let's say it's RJ Barrett right now, and then you're probably getting one of the young pieces, and say it's Grady Dick. Like, just say this is an initial offer of Barnes, Barrett, and Dick. I don't know if I love that for Milwaukee. Now you're building out depth for sure, and maybe you get some draft capital in this deal. If you're Toronto, you're running out Quickly, maybe Agbaji, Brandon Ingram, Giannis, and Pirtle. Do you think Ingram and Giannis can work out? I think Milwaukee was linked a little bit to Brandon Ingram at the deadline. So, I think the best team we've talked about so far, the two best teams, probably Orlando and Atlanta. For the team that could trade for Giannis, have enough for Milwaukee to think about it, and still be okay going forward. Because if you're a team like the Heat or the Bulls, you're mortgaging basically your whole team for Giannis, and it's just going to be the Bucks 2.0. And then also the Magic and the Hawks are not in the division, and they're not a team that's really played the Bucks in the playoffs in the past. Yeah, Atlanta and Milwaukee face each other in the 21 conference finals, but I don't really think that's going to deter Milwaukee trading with Atlanta, or Milwaukee played Orlando, I believe, in the bubble. Yeah, like that doesn't matter. I think they have a little bit more to offer than Detroit, and while I do think Indiana, maybe New York, Boston, and Cleveland could offer compelling packages, I don't know. I don't think Milwaukee would really want to trade Giannis to one of those top teams. A popular team here is going to be the Brooklyn Nets. I'm sure the Nets would like to keep Cam Johnson, probably, and Nick Claxton, but that is just not going to happen. I think Nick Claxton would have to be in this deal. Maybe you're allowed to keep, I think, right? Maybe you get Cam Thomas in a sign and trade here. But if you look at their draft capital, right, they have their first round pick this year, which is top 10. Maybe it ends up going to 2. And hey, Dylan Harper, that sounds exciting in Milwaukee. But then there's 3 first round picks in this draft, not in the lottery. 1 from Houston, 1 from Milwaukee, 1 from New York. Not really game-changing draft picks. And then going forward, Houston has a right to swap in 2027. They own their 2026 first, but if they have Giannis, you think they're going to at least be a playing tournament team at the minimum, and probably a playoff team. So that pick is like 15, 16, 17. And then going forward, a lot of their draft capital either comes from New York, which they're going to be okay at least for the next 4 or so years. Maybe that 2031 first can have value, but now we're talking about an asset 6 years from now is your return for Giannis. I don't think ownership is going to sign off on that. They do have a Dallas first round pick from the Kyrie Irving trade. They do have a Sixers first round pick from the James Harden trade. I guess like Philly's future, I think, is going to still be okay. Even with Embiid and George getting up there, because you have Maxey, McCain, Edwards, and like maybe their first rounder this year. I like Daryl Morey is also a smart drafting GM. I think Dallas, I mean, it's still TBD where they're going to be in a few years. Now that they moved Luka, so that could be appealing in 2029. And then the Suns picks are basically going back to, or they're now in possession of Houston. So to be honest with you, if I'm Milwaukee, the Nets don't like, yeah, they can offer me 7 first round picks, 8 first round picks, and maybe you'll think about that. But those picks are also like major what ifs for your best player since Kareem, maybe your best player in franchise history when it's all said and done, or maybe your team's GOAT and most accomplished, or I don't know about most accomplished player, but you can maybe say that for your team specifically. So yeah, I think through the Eastern Conference, Orlando and Atlanta make the most sense. I'm not going to entertain a Hornets or Wizards idea. I mean, there could be a Philadelphia idea. I don't think Milwaukee. I don't think their risk management department would think about Giannis for Joel Embiid. If I'm them, though, I'm asking for Tyrese Maxey 100%. Maybe Kelly Oubre's in there to make the money work. I'm asking for Jared McCain, and I'm asking for their first round pick this year, which I can't initially throw in this deal on Fanspo. We'll just say it's this one. So does this match financially? It technically does. There would have to be some hoops, but if I'm getting back Maxey, an all-star level guard, Jared McCain, who looked like a top 5 rookie before he got hurt, and I can't bet he's going to be an all-star one day, but could be a very good young shooting player for you. And then you're getting maybe a top 5 pick in this year's draft. You'd probably also get back the Clippers picks. Yeah, because I'm sure like Philly fans would be like, no, we want to build Maxey, Embiid, and Giannis. That's just not happening. Paul George isn't salary filler. Like that is a complete negative asset for you at this point. I'm asking Maxey, and if you're not giving me Maxey, then hey, you're not getting Giannis. That's pretty much the story here. So you'd have Giannis and Embiid in the front court. I mean, it'd be fascinating just to see how that would work out. You still have Paul George, so you're heavily invested into 3 players. Maybe you're able to keep Justin Edwards and all this. You have a Dembona, Drummond. Maybe one of those guys on the margins can help you out, but the Sixers would not have great depth after this deal. So you're selling out a lot for Giannis. So next, yeah, so we're not going to talk about the Hornets or the Wizards. They just would not be in position right now to trade for Giannis. The Thunder, all right, so now let's go to the Western Conference, which I do think has a couple teams that have the best possible deals here. And I think we're trying to match what Orlando or Atlanta would do. Atlanta's got a new front office. Orlando has said they want to add to their team. I wonder if they would be like a sneaky KD team more so. So I think out of the Eastern Conference, I think Orlando would be too passive in trading away Franz and Suggs. They would maybe like to do Franz and other pieces. Maybe if you can keep Suggs, you would do that trade. Because you can maybe do Franz, KCP, Anthony Black, Wendell Carter Jr., and maybe throw an additional draft capital instead. So yeah, I think that's probably the only team in the East. So the Thunder have a fascinating situation because they've been building up assets for somebody like Giannis for years now. Now, they have a ton of first-round picks. Some could be overrated, but it's still a nice chest. Like, they're going to have the 15th pick this year from the Heat. They're going to have a pick later in the draft from the Clippers. If the Sixers pick falls to 7, that's intriguing, and that could be a nice asset going forward. The Jazz top 8 protected pick next year, like that, I think can turn to seconds eventually, so that pick might be not the best. They have a 2027 top 5 protected pick from Denver, which I think was from the PJ or the Peyton Watson trade on draft night. They have a swap with LA in 27, a swap with Dallas in 28. Like, they do have a bunch that could work out well. Some may not, some may. And I wouldn't really care for the Thunder's first round picks individually because they're going to be a good team going forward. So I think the Bleacher Report article was centered around Isaiah Hartenstein, which is crazy. Kaysen Wallace, Nikola Topic, who hasn't even played a game yet. First off, I'm asking for AJ Mitchell in this deal. If you're keeping J-Dub and Chet, I want to at least present 2 offers. So we're going to offer Hartenstein, Mitchell. Like I said, I'm getting off of Kuzma in this trade, and I'm asking for Lou Dort. So that means you're able to, or actually, you know what? You can keep Lou Dort. Actually, you know what we could do? We can keep Kuzma. That's fine. I want Aaron Wiggins in this deal. So the 4 players are Wiggins, Wallace, Mitchell, and Hartenstein. I think at this point, I'd rather have Mitchell than Topic. I want the 15th pick in this draft. I want the other first round pick in this draft because I want guys that can contribute. I want Philly's pick as well. I don't care for the Utah pick. I want Denver's pick. I want Denver's swap in 29, which I think has a convey things with 27. So maybe I want the swap with Dallas in 28. and I think that's really it going forward, because I could care less about OKC's individual first, and I want to swap with LA in 27. So this is what I want for Giannis if I'm Milwaukee, and you're not giving me Chet or J-Dub. I think if I'm Milwaukee, you got to be firm on that. I guess this is probably the reason why this isn't working, is because of the Stepien role, and there's some team options and, yeah, roster spots, which is fine. So, yeah, I'm asking for Hartenstein, Wiggins, Wallace, and Mitchell. It is not the best young core in the world coming back. Like, can any of these guys be a number one for you? No. Franz can be a number one. I don't know about Jalen Johnson, but Jaylen Brown could be a number one for you on guys that we've talked about already. And Hartenstein needs a new deal basically after next year. Wiggins, I think, can elevate his value, but how is his efficiency going to look with more volume? Cason Wallace, great defender. Mitchell, I think, a good ball handler. But you're really hoping that these draft picks can be something for you. And honestly, I think I like Philly's offer more if J-Dub or Chet is not on the table. Now, I think a question that no matter who you ask, you may get a different answer. Who would you rather trade, Chet or J-Dub? Because could I get Hartenstein and J-Dub in a deal? And I don't know. I don't know who they prefer to keep, because J-Dub is about to have an extension kicked in. So you need to make this trade before they sign the rookie maxes, before some poison pill stuff gets involved. But I do think J-Dub or Chet gets you almost there. It really does. So I wonder if you think about a Hartenstein and Giannis lineup. Now, it can't really space the floor all that well. But yeah, you're thinking of J-Dub, Hartenstein. I don't think, like, Lou Dort may be a lot to ask for. Like, does that 3-for-1 make sense? I don't think you have to throw in that much draft capital, because J-Dub is such a good asset who may be an All-NBA member this year. He was an All-Star. And he could be a number one. I don't know how the efficiency would look when he's always guarded by the team's top defender, because that's been Shea, and J-Dub's had to be a beneficiary of that. But I think J-Dub or Chet, if they're involved, OKC's offer goes up to number one. But if they're not, I don't really think I'm listening about this offer that much. Maybe it's Chet and Dort and picks and Wiggins and Jang and something like that, which I do think if Chet, I wonder who I'd prefer, Chet, because if Chet hits a ceiling, like, you think he could be like an Evan Mobley type, it's very intriguing. J-Dub's a little bit older, and how do you worry about him as a number one option? So, yeah, if I'm Milwaukee, I'm not making this trade with the Thunder unless Chet or J-Dub is involved, and I don't think Sam Presti does that. I don't. So that leaves the Houston Rockets, which I think is going to make the most sense, because I think, one, Tillman Fertitta is going to get involved, and I think they can get this deal done with Jalen Green, who had a disappointing playoff run, and Alperen Şengün. All the deals I've seen, that is Jalen Green and Jabari Smith and Whitmore, and no. I need Şengün coming back. If you're getting Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's going to be a top 25 player of all time when he retires, he's 30 years old. This team loves Devin Booker in trade discussions. He's only 2 years older than Devin Booker. And I think the Rockets have, one, potentially the best offer that they're willing to do. Yes, OKC can top this. Yes, maybe Boston can top this, but are their ownership and front office willing to do it? I don't think so. I think what I can get out of a top 10 pick this year via Phoenix, their 27 first and a 27 swap best with Brooklyn, who's not getting Giannis here, so that pick may have some value, and I'm getting a 29 first. So I'm allowing OKC to keep all of their individual first-round picks. It's the same thing I was talking about with the Thunder. Why do I care about your first-round picks? If you're going to have Giannis Antetokounmpo, they're going to mean nothing to me. So if I can get Şengün, Jalen Green, I mean, they clear up money with this trade, so you can even send Kuzma to Houston, and I'm asking for either one of Jabari Smith, Shepherd, or Whitmore. I think Shepherd would have a little bit less value. So yeah, I think this offer is probably the most intriguing one, because you're getting a 22, 23-year-old all-star center in Şengün, who's going to get better over time. You get off the Kuzma contract. You're hoping Jalen Green can reach that ceiling in a change of scenery, and you're getting Reed Shepherd, who I think at his best is going to be like this microwave, like, connecting piece that could maybe be a starter, maybe come off the bench. And I think I'm getting 4 good draft picks here. I'm getting some of the more intriguing draft picks in this league, a 2027 Phoenix first, 2027 swap best between Brooklyn and Houston, and a swap between Phoenix, Dallas in 2029. Yeah, I think still to this day, Houston has the best offer, and I don't need to take Amen Thompson back. So they have Giannis, Van Vliet, Brooks, Smith, Eason is still involved in this deal. You get to keep Cam Whitmore, and you get to keep all your draft picks. So even if Kuzma's not in this deal, which I don't know if Milwaukee would want to keep Kuzma, maybe they do, because maybe they want to contend next year. And now you get Dame back for the 2026 season, or maybe at the end of the 2026 season, and you get him back for the 2027 season. You might be able to compete. And honestly, the Eastern Conference is still weak. Like, that team, if Shepherd and Green are playing 80 games a night, what they did basically this year, you can make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference with this. So I think Houston definitely makes the most sense if they're willing to part ways with Şengün, and you should if you want Giannis. The Lakers don't have enough. I mean, Denver, you're taking Giannis, you're taking Kuzma, and I'm asking for Murray, Porter Jr., and Gordon. Like, I'm gutting your core, and now you're having Giannis and Jokic. How far can that team take you? I don't know. Now it's really confusing. I mean, maybe you get to keep Aaron Gordon in all this, and I'm getting Porter, Murray. Maybe they get to get the Damian Lillard. I don't know. That's like a 2K type trade, and I want Christian Brown coming back and Peyton Watson. Like, I don't know. Jamal Murray, Porter Jr., Brown, and Watson for Giannis and Kuzma. Maybe the Nuggets ownership would do that. I mean, that keeps you competitive next year in Milwaukee, but I don't know about your future long term. Like, that's why I'm all after Şengün, J-Dub, Franz. Like, I want somebody that could legitimately be a number one and could grow with you over time, and you're going to get all of their prime years. Like, we're kind of in Murray's prime. Porter Jr., I don't think could be a number one at this point of his career. Christian Brown's going to be a great connecting piece, a great role player, not a number one. Like, that's what I want coming back for Giannis. Jaylen Brown, Franz Wagner, J-Dub, Şengün, that's what I want. Clippers, a deal around Zubats does nothing for me. Zubats and Powell, I don't really think that does anything for me if I'm the Bucks. I mean, Giannis and Ant is fun. Don't get me wrong. I would ask for McDaniels. It's another thing here. Am I getting a number one back in this deal? It'd be like a Naz Reid sign and trade. It'd be Jaden McDaniels. It'd be Dante DiVincenzo. It'd be Rob Dillingham. Like, I don't think that's topping any of the top deals I've talked about. So, it would be fun. It'd be electric. Yeah, Giannis and Ant, I don't see it happening. Golden State, no matter what package, it's not happening. Jimmy Butler, Moses Moody, Pods, Post, Kuminga, and every pick they own, I don't think would be enough. I don't. And yeah, maybe Jimmy can carry. It would be funny to see Jimmy on the Bucks. Next up, you have the Grizzlies, who could offer you a very intriguing package. So there's two things here. I'm asking 2 out of the 3 of Morant, Bane, and Jackson Jr. Now, I wonder if you're willing to part ways with Triple J and maybe all the other intriguing assets like G.G. Jackson, Jalen Wells, and Zach Edey. Like I said, I think Kuzma can really help bridge this deal. Now you have Ja, Bane, and Giannis. Like, that's something in the Western Conference, and they do have draft capital to trade you. Maybe you view Jaren Jackson Jr. as somebody that could be a number one on your team. Now, would Ja Morant be in this deal? Like, you take out, like, who would you rather move if you're Memphis? Ja or Triple J? I'd assume it'd be you'd rather move Triple J. For sure. And they have draft capital. I think Memphis could be a wild card in all of this, for sure. But, like, you're just throwing him the Western Conference, man. How is he going to do well there? There's so many good teams in the West. Kings, no. Dallas, you don't have enough. You'd probably want to pair him up. I mean, if you can go from AD to Giannis, yeah. Milwaukee doesn't want AD. Even if you still had Quentin Grimes, I don't think this deal's getting done. Because, like, you can take Gafford, Lively, PJ. No. They're going to be more in the Kevin Durant market unless AD is really intriguing to Milwaukee. Phoenix, the only thing would be Devin Booker for Giannis. And maybe Milwaukee would be okay with that, because Booker's under contract. It's something. And like, all the draft packs they could trade, and Ryan Dunn, maybe. I just think that's not going to happen. Portland, we can lump them in New Orleans in just because they own some of Milwaukee's picks going forward. They own a swap in 2030 and a swap in 2028 from the Dame trade. So maybe. I just don't see them really trying to go in right now, because you're trading the draft picks back to them. Maybe Grant or Aiden to make the money work. And then you got to throw in either one of Sharp, Denny, and Scoot, and maybe 2 of them. Maybe Klingon's got to be in this trade as well. I just don't see Giannis going to Portland, because I think it's also going to be determined where Giannis wants to go. He's not going to Utah. New Orleans, I mean, yeah, they can offer, like, New Orleans is better than what their record was this year because of all the injuries. Maybe they offer you Zion, your picks back, and Herb Jones. That's something. How far does DeJounte Murray, McCollum, Trey Murphy, Giannis, and Misi go in the West? Does it go far? I mean, Zion, when he's healthy, is one of the best players you can get back, and I think could be a legitimate number one. Like, say you got, I don't know, Hawkins, Herb, Zion, maybe Matkovic, and you get your picks back, and you get, like, maybe the pace, like, you get a ton of draft picks. Like, would they mortgage the future? I don't know. Joe Dumars could make this type of trade. Like, he just took over the job, maybe, and now you're, yeah, like I said, but you have Giannis with an old backcourt of McCollum and, Murray's coming off the Achilles tear. Does that make, I don't know. like, yeah, you have Giannis, Misi. Maybe you can keep your pick in this draft. Probably not. I think that would have to be in this trade just because of Zion's uncertainty with his health. But that contract is good for Zion because you can cut it at any time. So that leaves the last team is the Spurs. And I saw like Spurs fans on Twitter saying Castle's untouchable. What? This is maybe the highest value of Castle's career. So it would have to be like, you want to keep Fox, you want to keep Wemby. Vassell and Castle have to be in this trade. Sohan have to be in this trade. And I'll say Champagnie. Like I said, this could give you an out for Dame. I don't think you're going to be able to lump Dame, though, in the Giannis trade. So it gives you an out for Kuzma. So, yeah, it's basically Giannis and Kuzma for Champagnie, Sohan, Vassell, and Castle. Like, I don't think Castle's going to be a number one. I'd rather have Franz. I'd rather have Şengün. I'd rather have J-Dub than Castle. They have first rounders. Like, you can get 2 lottery picks in this year's draft. You can get a swap up with Atlanta in 26. Atlanta's first in 27. You get Boston swap at 28 from the White trade, but how much value is that going to have? You get Dallas, Minnesota swap in 2030 from the Dillingham trade. You still get Sacramento swap in 2031 from the DeRozan trade. So, yeah, you're getting a boatload of draft picks if this can end up working out financially. And, yeah, Giannis and Wemby, that could be unreal. You can also keep Keldon Johnson in this. You obviously keep Fox in all this. You bring back Chris Paul maybe. I think there's a path there. I do. Because I do think they have valuable picks plus at least assets, young guys of Vassell and Castle and Sohan that are intriguing to me. So I would say the team's best offers, you would have in the West, Houston, OKC, Memphis, and San Antonio. I would say that they're the 4 best. New Orleans, Phoenix, I think are right behind maybe Denver. But I would say those 4 of OKC, Houston, Memphis, and San Antonio in the West. And if we're in the East, Orlando and I think Atlanta have good packages to offer. Toronto maybe. And I think like at the top, like Cleveland and Boston can wow you. Indiana can at least give you a good return as well. I just don't know if they would trade them or him to those teams. So yeah, for the last half an hour, I just talked about Giannis Antetokounmpo trade ideas. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know. Like, put yourself in Milwaukee's shoes. What is the best possible deal that you think you can get back realistically? And I think whatever you offer and you think it's a lot, it's probably not enough. It's probably going to be for more than what we think because maybe Rudy Gobert overvalued the market. Luka undervalued the market. I think Giannis, even if he requests a trade and they lose a little bit of leverage there, he's going to go for a lot. Teams will be bidding against each other. And I think Milwaukee needs a true, legitimate number 1 young guy they could build back from. So that's why I say J-Dub or Chet. Şengün, Triple J maybe, Franz, yeah, I would say it could be a number 1 long-term for you. Jaylen Brown, I think those would make a lot of sense. So yeah, thank you guys all for watching this episode of the Just Ballin' Podcast. I do want to apologize once again about the face cam. Hopefully you still enjoyed this video. I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up, but hey, no worries if you're not even watching at this point because you turned it off because you're not interested in the non-face cam stuff. That is completely fine with me, but either way, if you're watching right now still, you're a real one and I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.